Recording is on.
Hello and welcome to the first business meeting of 2021. Today is Monday, January 4th. And today for the agenda, we'll have new member introduction, a brief introduction of the OKR that Venki and myself have been working on, a discussion on layer 2, and a discussion that kind of continues from last week on how does DXbiz collaborate, incubate, partner with other entrepreneurs, communities, or companies. It's in one of the goals of DXbiz to support like open source projects and startups. So we can brainstorm with that as well. So yeah, do we have anyone new? I don't think so. Venki, you did introduce yourself last meeting, I think.
Yeah.
But maybe, do you want to share, Venki, maybe your kind of like your experience or history with OKRs, because that's kind of interesting.
Yeah, I could do that. So about 5-6 years back, I was working in a startup, and we were acquired by we were having investments from Kleiner Perkins. So John Doerr was there giving us training about OKRs. So that was my first introduction with OKRs, and I was heading a product where we wanted to grow from like 10,000 installs in a month to about 200,000 installs in a year. And we were not using any sort of goals, basically. We didn't have any objectives. We were just developing, and then we were feeling the feet in the water. But after having OKRs, it was giving us like razor sharp focus towards what we want to achieve. But I told this to Nylan as well. I was working a very centralized organization where the directions came from top down. It's going to be a challenge for me if I'm trying to facilitate this, where we will probably do OKRs for a DAO.
Yeah, so I think, I've said this a couple of times, but I think like the structure of our OKRs and goal setting is, it really fits well with a DAO, because let's say in Google, like basically the OKRs of everyone is exposed to everyone. So every company, every department, even, Sundar Pichai and the other guy, they had basically their OKRs open for for everyone. So I think this kind of aligns as well with the kind of open nature of DAOs, and the fact that we are looking into this whole squad things and breaking it down to let's say lower sort of, I don't know if management, but lower levels of coordination kind of fits well. Sorry.
Related to like applying it to DAOs, the cool, like you picture this end vision of like hundreds or thousands of people contributing to DXDAO, right? And the thing we haven't had so far, because we were new and young and small, is there's no like agreed upon vision like that everyone can see and look towards. So when you have these goals, and if they're agreed upon by the community already, you could see how people that come in or see like the vision of what the DAO is moving towards, it's easier for them to get involved, because they could see one piece of one of OKR. They could be, oh, I could contribute to that OKR for sure, and without worrying about the rest of the things, they could easily, I think, more easily get involved. So having like that agreed upon OKR vision, whether it's really OKRs or just like end goals and vision, I think it helps the DAO scale too, which is cool.
Yeah, 100%. So we actually started, so maybe Venki, do you want to share your screen, or should I do it?
Yeah, I could do that. Let me see. I have my kids at home right now, and then there's going to be some noise in the background. So let me
No
find
worries.
All right. So let me start with. Can you see my screen?
Yep.
Yeah,
we can.
Cool. So yeah, basically, whenever we want to start setting up OKRs, we go from the goals of what the organization is. So for DXDAO, we should have certain goals, and then once we have agreed upon the goals, then we set organizational objectives. So yeah, the organizational objectives for the DAO could be, there was one sentence that Elon was mentioning, that to create a governance system that will allow DXDAO to scale and thrive. So keeping that as an objective, then we will have to come up with key results, and these key results should be measurable, in terms of how we are progressing. So basically, if I keep my objective as start exercising this year, and the key results should be okay, how many days of exercise that I'm planning to do this year. So similarly, if we want to say that, I'm just putting out thoughts here. So if we have to say that, okay, we want to launch Swapper and then make it third biggest DEX, and then the key results could be, okay, what is the amount of liquidity that we bring in from the public? We could have, what is the amount of trading volume that we generate? We could have all of those as key results. So with that, so we take one objective, and then we could distribute that to different squads. Let me zoom this out a little bit.
You want to say something, Chris?
No, sorry, I'm still talking about Google. I think this is interesting.
Yeah, and then we could, after we have given the objectives and key results, and then we could drill that down to different products. So basically, I've taken just Omen and Swapper for now. So Omen, Swapper, and then we add individual objectives, and then how these objectives would in turn satisfy the company-wise objectives. And then these could also become the quarterly objectives. And for every objective and key result, we will have to have initiatives that is being that will enable the key results to become 100%. So this is the basic idea of how a goal is set, and then from there how we drive objectives, and then how it trickles down to different products, and then at the squad level as well. I mean, when I mention squad level, it could be marketing and branding that will have its own objectives and key results that comes down from one of the product objectives. And then tech and engineering will have something. There will be something for customer support. Yeah, we had all of those when I was working in that startup. And then we'll see how it works out here. I also would like to share one another screen where we were trying.
Real quick on this what you just showed. What's the best way to fill this out? Is it like everyone kind of fills this out on their own? You come together as a group, and then you, through consensus, like everyone share and then agree on what these things should be filled out, or do you like sit down together from scratch and fill this out?
Yeah, and that's where I have my doubts, because for when I was working for the startup, it came top down. So we had company goals. So the company said that we want to start monetizing by the end of the year. We should have revenue of so and so by the end of the year. So we had these company goals that were set out. But then when it comes to DAO, I haven't worked with DAOs, so this is only like 2 weeks that I have been involved in DAO. So I don't know how the goals are structured, how these alignments work on. But if you have those, I think for that to be done, in my limited knowledge, I think we should have calls where we agree on a goal and this company level objective.
Yeah. So my thoughts with this is that, Venki and I we tried to have a bit more content before coming, but we both got caught up in some things. But I think, like, the way I see this unfolding is, we have a small kind of working group to structure like a first version, and then we could have iterations on it. Ideally we should have kind of like agreed upon OKRs for Q1 by the end of the month. And then beginning of Q2, we can, go and review these OKRs, change them, and, see how we succeeded, and then change them. I guess that would be like in March, April. So yeah, like first we start with like a small working group and then expand that to everyone. Again, this document should be public and anyone could comment and add things as they want. But yeah, we should slowly kind of like slowly and incrementally build on this until we have something that's kind of okay, I guess.
Yeah,
it makes sense. It makes like it. I see the DXDAO OKR as like a very broad and like a very broad goals list, and this, I guess, like thinking simply about it. Decentralization process and revenue process, and then like setting clear goals, which is not really connected to any squad or guilds, but it's rather like an invitation for all the guilds about like, okay, this is the global goal, and a signal to the guilds to actually achieve it. And then, interestingly, the goals could also be just simply prediction markets, right? And allow those guilds to be bullish on achieving those goals, to actually like participate on those prediction markets to even win more for the guilds. So I think the DXDAO in general needs,
That's very meta, I think. Like, I think it would be great to actually, start with something like this. I don't want to. It might complicate it, but I'm all for it. And
Elon, this scenario would be rather like a signal from top, right? But so you think we should actually do the opposite and actually like let the lowest level just do something first and then see how it progresses?
So I think that we should first kind of try, like we tried take the manifesto and then maybe get a couple of goals from that are kind of like actionable for the DXDAO, let's say for 2021, for example. DXDAO wants to create, deploy, and govern revenue generating decentralized product. That's kind of like very up there. It doesn't really say anything, but that's like the yearly goal of DXDAO, right? And then if you break that down, and you're an Omen, then you already have your product is already deployed. So now you're thinking about the revenue generating one. So maybe a goal for Omen that's just like a subset of the DXDAO goal is to be revenue generating, or to be revenue generating in 2021. And then a KPI for that, or like a key result would be for Omen to generate, I don't know, $10,000 worth of revenue in 2021. So kind of like we'd be defining the top goals, and then there's kind of like bottom up action as well, because it's top down with the DXDAO goals, and bottom up from like the individual squads. How do they align with the specific goals? We're still a tiny organization, I think, so we can do it.
With Omen as an example, what that lets you do is, as a community, it's very clear, is your goal to get to 1 million users first, or is your goal to generate $50,000 of revenue? because those could be two different approaches, right? And so this allows you to focus. And I would say user growth at this point is more important than smaller revenue, but that's what this would help decide, right?
Yeah, I mean, and then Omen could decide for themselves, and obviously the DXDAO kind of needs to, in a way, approve that as a community and say, okay, the Omen Guild is now focusing on user base rather than revenue, which completely makes sense. So yeah. So that's kind of that, and then we can have like another, I don't know, DXDAO goal that's support the growth and ecosystem of decentralized products. So DXDAO wants to deploy additional decentralized products of its own. The DXDAO wants to incubate. The DXDAO wants to work with or support other products, and then having basically trickle down kind of objectives and key results for each one of these. Yeah. This is like yeah. Go ahead.
I want to the only issue I see, like, what happens if we don't meet those goals? Like, what are incentives for people to do it? Like, we can set up goals, but how do we make sure that they get accomplished?
So, in the traditional way of setting up OKRs, you shouldn't be fulfilling like 100% of them. Like, that means that you undershot or like under-aimed for where you are. You're supposed to be around, let's say, we want to, it's very easy to say, let's say, user base for Omen, right? Like, we want to get 100,000 unique addresses, for example. Like, in most cases, we won't reach that. Like, I think the playbook kind of says that you want to aim, you want to put a goal that you think you can make it to 70% of it, and then if you succeeded, then that's great. And that's kind of like, I guess, how you build it. In terms of like how do you incentivize people to go to like actually achieve these, then I mean, I guess a prediction market that actually rewards, in the case of success, to that specific squad. I mean, that could be like an interesting system.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and also it's always like, I think those OKRs, I never done OKRs, so I think I don't know much about them. But how often do you set those objectives? Is it per quarter? Is it per roadmap? Yeah. How often do we need to do that?
I would probably say per quarter, like for now.
So it makes sense to combine those. I mean, they're basically like part of the roadmap, right? I guess inside the roadmap, there should be like a OKR defined for the next quarter.
Yeah. Wait, I'm not sure what
I can jump in here. So when you have a roadmap, you would usually have a roadmap just for the product. But then when you have your objectives and key results, you actually see that, okay, this is the goal that I want, how my users will use the product. And that's the difference in the way that you see it.
Yeah, I would add that maybe like OKRs in this way, they're kind of like an arrow that's directing like when you're building the roadmap, like we're focusing our OKRs that we decided as users are not revenue. So we should focus on features that are related to users and not revenue. It's kind of like a direction that aligns everyone in the DXDAO towards something. And this is especially important when you have like different departments, right? If we have a marketing department or a business department, they should also be aligned to these goals. Like we want to get 100,000 users to Omen, then the marketing department will have an objective for that as well. So and then they can, in their OKRs for the marketing department, they'll have, okay, we want to release in 2020 or in Q1 at least 3 articles about Omen. So yeah, like just as an example. Any other questions? We'll have, I hope that we'll have something like a bit more coherent by next week. Like we just started, and both Venki and I didn't have enough time to actually go over it again after we had a call about this. So,
Elon, do you think it's a good idea? Like you and Venki are going to take a shot at this. Should people on their own like think about some like filling in some related to what they're more focused on, and then everyone bringing that together? Well, maybe for a working group first, so it's not
yeah.
So coming from all different squads, I guess, and then that's shared with the overall community, and then it's revised from there after feedback and stuff.
Yeah. I think this should be the way. I kind of want to get like a working group going. I just feel like personally for me, like the evenings are so packed that it's kind of difficult to work with anyone in the US, like to have any more hours with anyone in the US. So it's kind of comfortable for me with Venki that he's in Europe as well. So maybe we should have like a US team and a Europe team like working on these.
Okay, is the best way for like if some of us want to add some inputs to the, should we do it on a shared Miro or a separate one, and then or just list some?
I would say a shared Miro would be great actually, because it's you can easily collaborate on this, and then we can have like working group A, working group B inside the same Miro.
Cool, yeah. So if you could share that with us, that'd be awesome.
Yeah.
Start adding.
Yeah, I guess Federico, yeah, his comment is that it should be DXD as incentive, and I guess, yeah, that makes total sense.
One thing about OKRs, from my experience, they are boring as hell, and if we do them every quarter, we will hate our life. But they don't need to be that. I think we need to simplify them really. Like it should be really simple goals that you can just say like if you should present the OKRs for a company, it should take you a minute, 2 minutes maximum. That's that's the goal.
Yeah, I totally agree.
Yeah. Yeah, I think we should have like once a quarter, we should have like an OKR meeting that might be longer, might be taking over some other meetings, but it's good that everybody is in line and everybody knows like which way we're going, especially since this is, a fully decentralized organization.
Yeah, I agree.
And yeah.
I think from the product side, we will have like it's easier to see the bigger picture, and it's easy to look at the different products and see what their goals are and align. Like it's good that we will like align all our goals into like one mega goal that is a company goal. I think with time, most probably in the end of the Q1 or Q2, whatever goals we will have, like stuff will change. A lot of things will change. We just look at how we went from not working with Misa to Misa is important in like a couple of months. So I think quarterly for us now makes sense, and maybe in the future we'll do like yearly when we are like more aligned already.
Yep, I agree.
Yeah, I just wanted to say I think it looks really good, and I like kind of the structure around it. And just like with these things, it's I think it's all about the process of us going through this and talking about what we want to do. So yeah, looking forward to kind of how that process unfolds.
Awesome. Any other comments, or should I move on to the next topic that we have?
Yeah, I'm just curious. What are like the action items now about that? Like, yeah, if there is a working group established, what do we want to see out of this?
Yeah, so I want to continue working with Venki. I mean, anyone else is welcome to join, and we'll start with kind of like structuring the first couple of let's call it like mock OKRs for the quarter. We'll share the Miro board, and maybe I'll even open like a Keybase chat specifically for that. Yeah, and I guess we can discuss this again in the next week's BizDev call. I think you started talking and muted yourself, Geronimo. No?
Yeah, he has the lagging
No, I just
problem.
said sounds great.
All right. Should we move on to the next topic, which is the L2 discussion? We have Arbitrum that's kind of talking to DXDAO, and we have Optimism that's launching in a week and a half. So that's kind of the state. And I don't know, John, do you want to take that away?
Yeah, it's something I've been thinking a little bit about, and I wanted to bring it up here so we could at least like kind of share our thoughts on like, you know, how people are viewing it as important. I think with, you know, especially over the weekend, seeing the ETH price now above 1,000 and, you know, gas costs going into like hundreds of Gwei, like, yeah, I mean, simple transfers are now like $5 to $10, like trading on Uniswap's like tens of dollars, like things are getting crazy, and they could get even crazier, right? Like you could, if the bull market kind of sustains and keeps going, things could get even worse. So I think it sort of highlights the importance of L2. And I mean, you see like Loopring's its price is doing very well right now. And now obviously they're a great solution. So I think just kind of like at a high level where I'm at and thinking about this, I'll just try to like run over it, right? Like I think we have, essentially there's like three categories of things that we're looking at, right? There's like the ZK rollups, there's optimistic rollups, and then there's side chains, right? And so to kind of cover like what those are and where those are at, like optimistic rollups aren't live yet, right? ZK rollups, we have Loopring, Starkware has done some stuff that's live. Their trust model is a little bit different. They're great because they have exit games, and you can kind of trust the security of Ethereum with your deposits. You can, if Loopring goes offline, then you could still get your money out, basically, right? And so that's great, except what you can do on a ZK rollup is pretty limited. You have to have special ZK proofs designed for the types of things that you want to do. So Loopring really only supports like DEX trades, and now they support like AMM, like Balancer or Uniswap style DEX trades as well, but it's kind of limited to that, to DEXs. Then you have like the side chains that are live now. We have XDAI, some of our stuff is on it. You have Matic, which spoke on the last BizDev call, right? So both, and I kind of listened to most of the Epicenter podcast on Matic. That helped me kind of understand what they were doing in the bigger context here. They're actually doing multiple things. So you can kind of think of them, I think, as like they have like their own version of it, like a XDAI style proof of stake side chain. I think it has some differences. And they're also, in addition to doing like that, doing something where there is exit games, like that's more like Plasma. But again, that's pretty limited in what you can actually do with the exit style games. You have to write like a special predicate for the types of interactions you want to have. So not general purpose again, right? So like, so Matic's sort of bridging, you know, both worlds here, where they're doing like a proof of stake style thing and like something that's very that has exit games but is limited. So yeah, so side chains, CK rollups, and then the last thing is like these optimistic rollups, which should be kind of general purpose, like almost fully EVM compatible. Nothing is live yet, although I think some of you may have seen that Optimism made an announcement that they're doing a preliminary launch onto mainnet in partnership with Synthetics in a couple of weeks. Synthetics is going to have like the upgrade keys, so it's not trustless. Like I don't view this as like a fully operational mainnet launch, right? I think they're probably more just trying to like steal some thunder here with announcements. But you know, I saw also the article that they were hoping to get to mainnet for like March, I think, within a more with like broader use cases. Not entirely sure there. And then Arbitrum is the other one. As I understand it, they're probably further ahead than Optimism, although they're less flashy and less loud about it. And we have a Telegram group with them. They're hoping, they're hoping to be on mainnet in March, and they're not doing this like partnership thing that like Optimism is doing. They're just keeping it open, right? So they're looking to work with teams and help with them and like do some announcements and stuff, but they're not like restricting any particular phase to anything, right? So, so that's kind of my general understanding. I don't know. Does anybody have anything else that we should be? Any other projects we should be adding to that list, or like any other dimensions?
The only other one would be other layer ones. Yeah. So other layer ones that if they have a really good bridge, which they're all working on because they need bridges to Ethereum, but Near and Cosmos and whatever, but they're like we've learned about Matic, they're, you know, Matic and XDAI would fit in there.
Matic and XDAI are the ones, yes, would be similar.
The thing, the Matic, like you said, the Matic does have the Plasma connection if you choose to use it, which kind of uses Ethereum mainnet security. When these other layer ones will be, including XDAI, will be their own security. But we should. It's hard to think about like Near and Cosmos for DXDAO's immediate term goals. I think like going like a good step would be Arbitrum testnet that we were talking about, like putting one of the products on there and seeing how that works on testnet would be a good first step.
Yeah, just like a couple comments here. One, just on Sky's last point, I think all of these options come down to one thing, and that's the bridge to Ethereum, right? Like how quick is that? How secure is it? And how often it will be used. So I think we're going to evaluate that. That is really kind of, to me, the most important thing. I think second, I think we're really looking for a partner here. And that's in part due to where we are, I think, in this development cycle, because it's not like all of these are existing there and we can evaluate all the options and weigh and just kind of choose one. We would kind of grow with this kind of organ. I think if you look at what we've done already, like Loopring, I consider them, you know, a partner relationship. Obviously, that kind of had with Rails. I think this is like kind of a partner relationship. So anything we're working with, we should be looking kind of for a partnership there. And I say, lastly, it comes down to how we can coordinate liquidity across these different things, and I think that's something that we can benefit from because we have products to place there, and I think there's a huge opportunity for Swapper here specifically to exist in L2s, maybe even more than one L2, and just kind of be the bridge between those.
And on the product side too, I would say Omen has probably the biggest need for it because like the gas costs are probably most prohibitive there. But I actually agree on the opportunity for Swapper as well.
I think Omen, it's more important, but actually I think matters less which L2 or sidechain is used, because it's kind of like Omen is, I don't know, in of itself, it could drive, like just by having lower transaction costs, that itself could drive it. But I think like for Swapper, it's more of like a distinguishing feature specifically on like the potential L2s. But I'm really optimistic on Arbitrum. I think partially because I think like we do want to move into I think EVM compatibility is super important in this. And so I think EVM and security, and then I think, I'm not sure if they're further along than Optimism or not. Maybe we can set an open market for that. But I think Arbitrum would be a better partner to build with than Optimism, just because Optimism is a little too crowded already.
Yeah, I mean, I guess to that point, like Arbitrum was pretty willing. Like I got intro to what their biz dev guy like a couple weeks ago or last week, I forget. But that he created a Telegram group that a bunch of us are in now, and it's got like their whole team on it, more or less. So they seem pretty interested or willing to work together. You know, they're pretty open.
I have got one question, and so isn't it like the winner takes it all system, that some of it will end up as the winner and then everyone is going to this one? Or I'm not sure. It's just, and then it's more important who will be the winner. Maybe we can make an open market for this.
No, I really think we should make an open. I was thinking about this. Like, I would love to bet on that. Like, we could use that as like indicator for what we should be doing. I would venture to say.
Yes.
Oh God.
It depends. You know, there are some. If you are really liquidity dependent, then and composability is very important. Then, if you end up in a not used L2, then yeah, that's it.
Yeah. I would venture to say the L2 landscape will look awfully similar to the centralized exchange landscape in terms of market share, right? Because it's actually the same kind of dynamics where liquidity is fragmented there. So obviously, like Binance has like, 60-70% of the market share, but there's lots of other centralized exchanges that exist and like make money and can kind of function in their own ecosystems. Maybe it's geographic or regional. But I think it's I think the comparison, and I would to Sky's point, I would include like Near, Cosmos, whatever, even ETH2 eventually in this. That like I see those maybe not as a winner take all, but like definitely a dominant player. But I think from DXDAO's perspective, that won't come for a couple of years, and I think the switching costs to us are pretty low. Because we're not going to be investing in any hardware, and we can move the liquidity around. So I think we want to play this market, pick a horse, but not be not fully commit. But I don't think we really need to fully commit in any way because the switching costs seem to be low.
Yes.
Yeah, I think as long as it's EVM compatible, like the ability to move for us is going to be an option. I think there's probably some opportunity though to like gain ground or have some success if we are partnered with like the earlier winners, right? Or winner.
One tricky thing with our, I guess, Omen would be the main product, because Omen is made up of so many pieces. Even like onto XDAI, it's taken a lot longer, and it will be the same for all of those, because the infrastructure that lets Omen run, unless we have a dumber version of it, a dumbed down version, where like DXDAO does is the arbitrator, is the Oracle, everything. You need all of the pieces, including Gnosis conditional token framework, to be on those chains. So it's hard to just say like, let's take Omen and try it on a few different alternatives. Like it doesn't work like that. So the question is, is it easier with Swapper or I guess no, it's not. Like Swapper only works on mainnet because that's where all the tokens are. So we don't really have one that you can just, like games. All these games are going to Matic. Like 80% of the things that are going to Matic are games because they have abstracted away like blockchain. And when you're using the game, like it's fine if the assets in the game are on Matic. It doesn't matter. Like you just connect to Matic. But like if that doesn't work for Omen, so that's another difficult obstacle, I think.
Yeah, so I would agree. And there's like several aspects here, like the fact that Omen markets are like limited means that we could actually like even transition completely away from mainnet and make sure that the product is on some L2. The issue with like I would disagree that it like the reason why why it takes longer on XDAI is because we have the mainnet security on Claros. Like we are using actually the Claros bridge. That was the main obstacle to to go ahead with XDAI. But if the DXDAO will clone itself on Arbitrum, I don't expect that Kleros will be available. So the fact that those Omen, like if imagine we would also move Omen to Arbitrum, I expect that the DXDAO will at the beginning be the main arbitrator, the main oracle and arbitrator for Omen markets. So that will be easier for us. And the fact that we already did the XDAI test, like the first, that we learned to use this different network, I think helped us to be more knowledgeable about installing the product to some other network.
The product, but then you also need Gnosis conditional token framework, right?
Yeah, but that's basically just deploying that stuff, which is just a contract. So that shouldn't be an issue at all.
Yeah, I wouldn't say it's like, it's certainly a little bit of work, but it's not like a major development effort. Right? It's a matter of redeploying the contracts.
Yeah,
it's definitely like Omen is actually like a prime example about the powers of Ethereum. Like there are actually not a lot of products who are just leveraging the shit out of Ethereum. Like we're actually using several protocols. It's getting to a point where like Omen itself is growing in terms of protocol usages. Roy, the newcomer for Omen, worked on compound integrations. Like I think DeFi will move to Omen too, and that means like it will get difficult. It will get more difficult because if compound is not on Arbitrum, that means we need to ditch it on the front end for Omen on Arbitrum.
Well, maybe it's a great opportunity to launch a DXDAO lending protocol. The one other thing we haven't mentioned is, I guess, Rails and maybe how, Loopring's doing some actually interesting things with their AMM right now. And I don't know if there's any, so it's actually an layer 2 AMM on, I think they have launched a new rollup that is not connected to Rails.eth. Rails.eth is connected to like the first version, which is what the original order book exchange, the Loopring order book exchange was based on. But I could see that getting some traction over the coming months because that's actually kind of in production and maybe some liquidity. So I don't know if is there any opportunity to like capture some of that market, or should we be thinking about Loopring's AMM at all?
Have you seen Loopring's numbers, like the exchange numbers? It's not very active. Like they have 7 or was it 14?
The last week or two. I think the last week it was not that bad.
Okay. Last time I checked, it was like under 20 trades for a week or something like that.
Yeah, I think you're looking at the version 1 because they switched to a new one, right? And that's why there's nothing on Railmark. It was great.
Yeah, I actually looked yesterday. But yeah.
Yeah, also interestingly, like I think after they introduced AMMs, most of the volume is coming from AMMs. Like the trading stopped on the order books, which is kind of, it's very interesting. Like I expected that order books are still very useful. And
no, I it's not joking. I sold it, and one reason was, it was like the you see they had like traction on the first version on the order book, and it worked somehow, and now they moved to the second version, and the order book exchange just it's not working anymore, it looks like. So they focused on the AMM side, and I don't think they can compete against Uniswap if Uniswap is out there. That's just because it's so it's kind of limited in it's a silo, and there's not a lot of traction, as said. But
it depends who the market makers on the order book for the first version were. Like if those people all moved over to the new one, maybe they just haven't yet. But depends who they were. Were they all Loopring like market makers?
I don't know. One reason I'm not that optimistic is I also look at IDX, and IDX also had this version 1 to version 2, and now they have almost no traffic anymore. I don't know, but it's for me. It's like they are very earlier. They show me how the problem about all the layer 2 stuff, because they have been like kind of private layer 2 style IDX2, and now they moved from version 1 to 2, and
They KYC.
no traffic. Huh? Maybe,
IDX
maybe.
KYC's US customers, and they've had like 1,000.
Yeah.
All of 2020 they really like did grow. They captured like I think the order book in 2019. So I'm just looking at generally like I definitely think Optimism and Arbitrum and all these other ones are maybe better positioned long term, but Loopring like kind of exist right now. There's like $3 million that traded yesterday, and 2, like we already have a product that basically has functionality with Loopring. So I'm not saying that like we should like put all our eggs in the Loopring basket, but in terms of like our strategic positioning now, like is there any opportunity to capture potentially some of the volume that would be going there? And I'm speaking specifically for Rails here.
Yes.
Because like Optimism and Arbitrum are not going to have any volume, right, for the next 3 months. And like Ethereum gas prices are going to be high, and Ethereum maybe too. So
I sold a little bit. I really sold yesterday before the fee skyrocketed, and I didn't think about the high fee anymore. It's really strange. So I missed that today. I thought the price was going up, and I thought, oh shit. The narrative is layer now gas fees are so high. So everyone needs to go to layer 2, and they have a solution. So, but anyway.
Yeah. Okay. So I guess that kind of sums up the discussion on layer 2. I do believe there will be a call scheduled with Arbitrum, right? And I think it might be worth it to try and reach out to Optimism as well and be like, hey, we have a suite of products, and we could be a very good partner to launch first. I don't know. Maybe Keenan, if you could be on top of that, or someone else, or maybe Sky. It could be interesting to just reach out to them and get off sales, introduce them and.
What do you think the goal would be of that? Like, because these all sound like trials and testing, and like, I don't know how many. We kind of have to choose at some point. So we want to hear like what they have to sell, or if they're like, because they're like making deals with Synthetic and Compound and whatever. Like DXDAO is much smaller, or DXDAO's products are much smaller compared to those in the beginning. Do we want to like hear? I like how Arbitrum's kind of like, we have this open platform. We're going to launch tests. It would be awesome if you guys want to test on our test net. It's already live. Check it out. And like, we could take that decision ourselves.
I don't think they close down to any for smaller players. They have a forum.
Yeah.
The same post that they announced those 3 partners. They also said like, if you're interested, write in this forum. Maybe we should just reach out and see. I'm guessing that's a strategy that they are announcing big players that can move the market to that direction. I mean, if you look at XDAI, like if we had big players from the start going to XDAI, instead of like just having one after one going in like month by month, I think this is what I don't know. XDAI is everyone is gone to XDAI, but no one is using it. So I think that's just a strategy.
So the way we get liquidity in L2 is through incentives, right? So this is the whole point of Uni, right? This is, and all Synthetics wants to do is like drive people so that they can mint cheaper. So I think there will be like crazy incentives to get people to go to Optimism and elsewhere. Yeah. The last thing we've been talking a lot about the products here, and we haven't talked that much about DXDAO and governance and maybe even things like worker payments. And so I wonder if that's something, is that something we would tag on to this, or like, how would we think about, like, I guess, non-product L2 use cases?
Yeah, I mean, I would think we would need to structure how to pay people, right? On like a layer 2. Do we deploy a whole DXDAO there that approves these, and then we fund that, kind of like what we have with XDAI, or I don't know, maybe we think of something else. So yeah, I don't know. I think, like, with these super high gas prices, then perhaps, like, it's kind of on the table that we'll start transferring funds to XDAI and then start paying people from XDAI, just because it's cheaper, and then yeah, the reputation can be basically completed at a later time. So yeah, just a thought on that.
Yeah, so we're got a meeting with BlockRocket tomorrow to talk about the vesting contracting. I think we can really optimize our worker payment flow with that. I was also chatting with like Augusto and Nico this morning about, if we had like we're desperate here because the gas prices are so bad that people are paying $100-$200 to get paid. It's kind of bad. Like, we could maybe even just use a multi-sig, right? Like, we could disperse, like, maybe we could do it by squad or something, and use that as a way to avoid people getting completely screwed here on their worker proposals with the gas costs.
Yeah, because the conversations about product, I think, are really important to the strategic direction, but we are also like an organization and a product that lives on Ethereum who's experiencing like a lot of problems with gas now. So I think we should, ways to solve that. I think a multi-sig, like you imagine, like by squad, even if the multi-sig had all of the members of the squad on it, you'd just be dispersing kind of payments, and so people would presumably agree on that.
And I think XDAI is an interesting thing to consider. I'm not sure it makes sense for payments, because just thinking about that flow, right? Like, if I get paid on XDAI, well, the first thing I got to do is then move that XDAI to mainnet so that I can then send it somewhere to liquidate it, right, and actually pay my bills. So I'm not sure we're actually helping people by going to XDAI with it versus like something lightweight on mainnet.
I think you could exit directly from XDAI.
How do you do that?
Like, I think there's...
You can on-ramp. It's easy to on-ramp in with like a debit card, but it's harder to off-ramp with XDAI. It's like, if you're talking about moving it to like a real exchange, John, and then like transferring USDC to an exchange and then putting it to your bank account, that's not going to happen on XDAI. No.
And I'm using that as kind of the reference for worker payments, because that's sort of, maybe I'm assuming that, but like, I'm imagining that's what people have to do, right? Like, if you're paying your real world bills with your worker payments, then you need to get that to a centralized exchange first, right?
Yeah, but the key is it's not super expensive to move XDAI back across to mainnet, and you have the opportunity to wait for whenever gas is cheap. You do an XDAI transaction, and now you do a claim on mainnet, which is the costly transaction, but it's not, compared to like a proposal, it's nothing. Like, and you can wait for when you want to do it.
But I'm comparing it to something else on mainnet, right? Because if we're going to move the funds from the treasury into something like I guess the XDAI DAO is better because it has everybody there, so it would be like the same voters, I guess, right? But
yeah, if you move 250,000 XDAI over to XDAI DAO and made those worker payments there, like in DAI, like that solves. Okay, we're trusting that bridge for 250 grand, but like that solves a lot of things, and then everyone has the option to move it back whenever they want. and it's all in DAI. It's a pretty decent solution for now that exists.
If you get DAI on mainnet, it would only take like the withdrawal, and you're saying that's basically like one not super expensive transaction.
It's a one claim. When you move it XDAI back across, you do the XDAI transaction across the bridge, and then they used to pay the gas, but gas is so expensive that they make you claim it on mainnet, and then it's pretty easy using the bridge DApp, and then it's not like super expensive, and you can do it whenever you want. So you just wait till gas is low, I guess.
Yeah, and this saves. I'm assuming to pass the proposal right now, it's probably around $200 for the proposal, the vote, and the stake. So yeah, like it saves all of that.
The thing is this: we can try it. Like once we have DAI in mainnet, with the same way we moved 10,000 DAI across to XDAI, we can do that with 100,000. We could try it for 1 month. There's like very little risk. We're not going to have another solution in the next month, so we could, once we have DAI on mainnet, we can try this out and try it for 1 month or 2 months and see what it's like, and then evaluate.
Are things bad enough, right?
This doesn't.
Sorry.
Yeah, I just want to say this doesn't really solve the whole. First of all, the reputation that needs to be kind of aligned at some point on mainnet, and the vested DXD, which it's another rabbit hole.
Right. Yeah. So the vested DXD XDAI doesn't really solve that, right? Because you can't give it out as a vested thing on XDAI, which makes me think, yeah. If this is like an immediate, like, I mean, I kind of, this might be sort of an emergency thing, right? Like where people are kind of facing this, like we could do the multi-sig stuff like now.
Yeah, I think I think if you think about it, if every squad had a multi-sig and made up of like people within the squad, you can think about who the signers are on that, and then each month it got one lump sum from DXDAO, and like that's basically kind of maybe the budget that they're like working on, and then that squad would have it, and then they could distribute that seems to me like, and then that seems to me both like probably a way we could do that right now, and also kind of maybe sets the structure up for like sub DAOs going forward and how that component would work. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. I guess it's the I guess XDAI is kind of like multi-sig when you think about it, and it's just you're sending out of the bridge is the sending payments from the multi-sig.
I guess it would be easier on mainnet with multi-sigs, obviously, but the tricky thing is almost every worker works for more than one squad. So do you have to get a payment from each squad multi-sig, or the way it's working now?
Maybe we would just have one for now, I guess would be the.
You could just have you could have a payment.
I just want to put all the money to the multi-sig.
You
like,
just
might need to. I agree. It's like
I'm just saying, yeah. That's what I don't want to do this, but I'm just saying, do it. I feel like we might be
you could just have a payment squad, and the money this month's costs go into the payment squad and get distributed from the payment squad multi-sig. Like it's not individual squads; it's just a payment squad.
And you could have tons of, I don't know how many signers you need on that, but like, presumably people would just approve any of the payments.
And that would still be more decentralized than anything else in the ecosystem.
How many people have not done their vested DXD claim like proposals? Chris, I know. Who else? Sky, have you done it?
Ever?
Yeah.
Ever? I've done it in the past, yeah.
Okay. Who else? Like, cause I feel like we don't see it. I think there's like more than one.
I think Zet
hasn't done it.
What was the question? I haven't done what?
How many people, how many full-time workers or just workers who have not done their DXD proposal yet?
No, I haven't done it.
So you, Chris.
I haven't, but I'm not quite at that point yet. It'll be the end of
You
this
just
month.
haven't actually got to it yet. Okay.
Yeah.
Which month? Like this month or at all?
Previous, like basically, who has like should have done it by now but hasn't for whatever reason.
Meals.
Well, for like end of December, I think you're the only one that's done it.
And I did it just before things went crazy, like Saturday. Like, so it's probably really bad right now in terms of like, and I thought it was expensive when I did it. It was like, it's like $50 to deploy the vesting contract, then like another $12 to do the proposal and another $12 to boost it. Like it's $100 just to do the proposal, like just to get your setup for the DXD, right? So if you're, it's kind of bad.
The nuts thing is that like the price in Gwei has gone up